Into the Badlands, Season 2, Episode 5, Monkey Leaps Through Mist. Good episode. I feel like this episode kind of did what I thought they were going to do, or kind of what they did do, actually, with the conclave thing, which is a lot of the stuff I was looking forward to, or at least, I shouldn't say a lot, it was really like half of the stuff, because we did get the fight of Sonny versus all the people in this episode, but the stuff with Quinn doesn't end up happening until the very end of the episode. Still really fun. It's just like the other episode where I thought that was going to be the Conclave episode, and that didn't end up happening until the end. This is kind of the same thing, where the big attack of basically, writers people, formerly writers people going after Quinn, that doesn't show up until the end of the episode. But it was still a good episode all the way throughout, because of course we get to see kind of the connecting of our different storylines as they get closer and closer. And I'm really excited for next week's episode, because not only do we have the crazy introduction of however this is going to play out, but we have towards the end of the episode the widow deciding of all the ideas that she could possibly come up with, she's going to team up with Quinn, which is absolutely insane. So her idea is to now team up with him. They combine their forces, and I'm assuming they guard each other and go after the other barons. So that's freaking nuts, but we'll see how that plays out. We have, of course, Sonny and Bajie going to one of Bajie's old friends. They're able to get a car towards the end of this episode, and they also end up taking this woman and this young girl, who is seemingly her daughter, and it was very interesting how that all played out, because I was like, okay, we saw from the trailer, somehow they go from getting to this place, trying to get through, and then Sonny ends up fighting everybody. So I was like, how is this going to play out? My simple guess was, it's into the Badlands, they go to trust this guy, he betrays them, they have to fight. And then they're at the table, they're eating dinner and stuff. Early dinner, it was super bright, but Sonny mentioned, like, you were at dinner, and I was like, it's still daylight now. They were in the tent. It made me laugh when he said that. I was like, it's still bright, and he considered it dinner, but we'll say it's summer. So they're at dinner, and the guy's talking about having girls and all that, and then this little girl comes along, and he's like, see, a greedier person would have put her into rotation earlier. As soon as he said that, I was like, this is why Sonny had to kill everybody. I was like, that's instantaneous. I was like, no more hints required. This is why people must die. So of course things play along. We actually have the woman who goes to meet Sonny. We find out that she ends up being busted for trying to get him to kill the guy, because the woman that was with Bajie was meant to report in on everything that the Clipper said, or was even said to him. So of course that leads to that final moment where it's like, he cuts the woman's face. He even stabs her. I thought she was going to die, so I'm assuming they're going to end up getting her help. And I don't know, I'm curious how this is going to play out, because admittedly, I didn't expect it to work. I thought that they would have this fight, but they would still end up not being able to save either the woman or the child, honestly. I thought it would just be like, they fight, and it would still have like a sad ending. That's where I thought it was honestly headed, but they're able to get her even after she gets stabbed. Badgie's able to put her in the car. They're able to get the girl as well, because fortunately, just before she ends up dying, Bajie hits the dude in the back of the head with a bat, and they're able to move on. They love their spike bats on AMC, but he hits him in the back of the head. They take the girl, put him in the car. Sonny, after doing all his kicks and flips and, some of his sword fighting, which is pretty cool because it goes through some hand-to-hand stuff, and then he gets the blade, and then he starts, chopping people down. So he's able to hop in the back of the car, and they take off. I assume with this guy's connections to the actual Badlands, because he knows all this information. He knew about Quinn. He knew that Ryder was killed. He talks about how he has opium that's sent into the Badlands, and that's how he gets his news from his people that come back. With him having that connection, I don't think he's done. I think he's going to send some people after him, and it's like, I don't have to leave, but I can send people out, and I'll know, whether or not, Sonny and Bajie were killed off. So I feel like that's how that's going to play out. Maybe that won't happen this season, considering we're only getting 10 episodes. So maybe that'll be something that they kind of bring back in the next season. But considering this guy has those connections where he knew all that information because of the people that he can send out, and his importance to, the barons and stuff like that, it's just like, I don't know. I don't really think that his storyline is done. They didn't kill him either, of course. He got knocked out, but he was trying to run down the car when they were taken off. So I'm like, I feel like he's going to be back. They introduced some characters. Who knows? We might have an alliance in Season 3 where he teams up with the dude that was running the mining company or something like that. He sends some people out, and then this dude from this episode ends up sending some people out, and they all just team up and try to kill Sonny and Bajie. Who knows? But we get them escaping with the two women by the end of this episode, so we'll see how far they get by the next episode. Turns out that no matter what they do, they end up seemingly, and I don't know if this will really happen, but they get real close to hitting MK's storyline, which, once again, small segment in this episode, but the biggest thing is the fact that it starts off and he's training like nothing's happened. I have to assume that that means he's gained control over his ability. I don't know if we'll see him do that in the next episode where, he can light his eyes up like the other people who have, like, mastery over their power. But I was like, he's training and stuff, and this isn't an illusion or anything. I'm like, I'm assuming, unless there is a scene that I completely missed, he has mastery over his darker side. I'm just assuming that based off of the scenes that we had. The last time we saw him was him going against his darker half inside the room with the mirrors. He never got busted, and that was the last time we saw him in the last episode, unless I missed an entire chunk of the last episode, or somehow missed this while not even remotely moving from my seat while watching this episode. So I would have to assume that he has mastered his ability, or at least has more control over it. He might not have mastered it, but I feel like we might actually get to see him utilize the next level of his abilities in the next episode, because the people are tracking him down. The girl ends up finding him, and he's trying to do everything he can to escape. So he takes off. He gets some clothes from a random body hanging in a tree. So he takes off. She takes off after him. And in the promo, she mentions that there is a device that's used to track people's abilities, which makes me wonder if she doesn't have an ability. Maybe she was raised there or something like that. I think they do mention that she wasn't, but it just made me curious. I was like, okay, they talk about MK, they don't say like the boy and the girl are close or anything like that. And I would assume they would have to realize that she's missing as well, especially considering she's one of the people that like actually train newcomers and stuff like that. So I would assume that they'd be chasing both of them down. They have to fight some other people, but MK and Bajie end up running across them as well. So I don't know if we'll see a complete blending of that storyline where MK and Sonny finally end up running into each other. So I'm looking forward to that. But either way, Sonny comes up across, I forgot what they called him already. They said it like twice in the promo, but I forgot. But he comes up across them again. They destroyed him in that last time. They did like that crazy triangle formation, and they were doing like some pressure point moves, and he was down for the count. But we'll see how that plays out in round 2. So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, the big thing at the end of this episode, naturally, was Quinn finally being attacked. We have him through this entire episode where he's losing it. I don't know if this was tumor related. I would assume maybe, partially tumor related, partially he's just a crazy effing dude and he killed his own son. But he's seeing Ryder through the whole episode. So he's seeing his son. He's having these crazy issues where, Ryder is telling him like, oh, Vel has been lying to you this whole time. Why are you still having headaches? Why don't you, put the knife to Henry's throat and see what she tells you? And then after that, I think that was like the first time we see that happen. We actually cut to Vel and we find out what happens to her from the last episode, which is she's locked up. Quinn's second in command is actually telling her like, I know the truth. I know that you've kind of been lying to him, and he finds, and I knew it was going to happen because they bothered to show the fact that she still had it. But they did in the recap, it's like, oh, here he comes, she's about to get busted, because they showed her with, the x-ray that had the tumor, and he's like, oh, well, what's this? I instantly thought she should have just said, that's old. He could not possibly prove otherwise. Like, I just kept him, or I kept that first one to really keep track and make sure there weren't little pieces. I don't know. She's smart, she could have figured something out, but I was just thinking like, man, she should have just said it's old, and that's all I could think of. But of course he knows the truth, and he's like, hey, I would kill you, but we need you because you are the only person that can actually help him, which is what you're actually going to do now. Otherwise, you'll be killed. And fortunately, thanks to the attack on the train station by the end of the episode, which ultimately was a failed attempt because apparently Quinn had this thing set up by himself, or maybe he had it set up by people that were already dead, because even his second in command was like, what just happened? So, the failed attempt, they go in, huge explosion, all chaos, and fortunately, Vel is able to escape by the end of this episode. So that was a great way to do that. I do, of course, want to talk about Vel and her epic survival skills when she had to save herself and her son. Because when it was just full madness from Quinn, where it's like Ryder's behind him like, hey, you need to kill this baby, she's lying to you and this and that. she was slowly making her way towards him, and she's, you know, trying to get his confidence back and everything. And it was really good. Now, when I was watching this scene, I was doing something else. So I'm like listening to what she's saying, and I'm typing some stuff up for another video I was uploading. And so she's talking, and as soon as she started, I was like, huh. The way she's speaking was almost like a loving sort of relationship. Like when she says, I may have hated you once, but not anymore, and stuff like that. Kind of going through like this sort of mini redemption sort of deal. I was like, oh, it seems really loving, like she really cares for him. So I'm typing away, and I'm listening to stuff. And then I'm like, the dialogue kind of stopped, so I looked up, and she was kissing him on the mouth. And I was like, holy crap, I could not believe it. But she got him. She was able to, like, she did what she had to do in order to survive. And she gets the knife from him. And he doesn't snap. That's the dog outside. I'm sure you guys heard that. But she's able to get the knife from him, and he's distracted, and she's able to get, you know, the baby. And I love the fact that Ryder was still there, because I honestly thought it was going to be like she kissed him, and then Ryder would just vanish. But Ryder was still there and was like, you know, women always were your weakness. So I actually enjoyed that little line from him. But it was really great, the way they did it. And it was just, he's losing his mind, and she really got to see that, you know, firsthand, because before it was like, yeah, he's dying, whatever, I want him dead. And then it was like, no, he's talking to himself, and he's, you know, turning around and yelling to this like empty chair basically that was behind him. And she got to see it firsthand that he's really losing his mind. And fortunately she was able to, you know, survive in that quick little moment. And then basically right after, she was able to make her escape, which I don't know how she did that. I don't know what other random exit there was, but somehow she was like, boom, I'm out of here. I don't know if she went through where the explosion actually happened, because if I remember right, it was like right next to the actual entrance is where that like gate area was, or the little gate that she would use for sunlight. So maybe she already knew that path. It was like, that's the main entrance. So maybe that's what she did. But man, she basically grabbed her baby and like teleported out of that place. So she was gone. I love Quinn just calling for like, Vale, and he was just yelling her name, and she was out of there. So great way to end the episode with her finally escaping. We also had it early on at the dinner table when Sonny learned that Quinn was actually alive. He realized that Vale was alive with Quinn, because the guy says like, well, either you aren't as good of a clipper as you thought, or he has one hell of a healer. And that's when they go to Sonny, and he's just like kind of stone-faced, and it's like, boom, it clicked for him, like Vale is with Quinn, and she saved his life. So I thought that was a cool moment. Of course, he won't get to kind of realize all the craziness that happened, and maybe we'll get some flashbacks. I hadn't considered that before, or maybe I don't know if I mentioned that. I always forget what I say sometimes. That's a bit of an oxymoron. I always forget sometimes. But you know, we might get some flashbacks as to why she, you know, really chose to save him, how she even found him, because what I remember from the season finale, and I think I did mention this maybe in the premiere, that she was kind of taken off at random. She was just like somewhere running, and of course he was kind of just in the alleyway dying. So maybe we'll get a flashback when they finally reunite towards the end of the season, and we'll get to see how she ultimately ended up finding Quinn to actually save him, and how things started to kick back up. Unless they do some stuff kind of in between, and we have to, kind of go online for some stuff, because I know there's some extra information there, but I don't know if they'll give us that through flashback, where it's like, you know, how did Quinn get his other, you know, his clippers and stuff like that to kind of follow him and kind of keep his secret, you know, that sort of thing. Like how, you know, the spacing, there's 6 months in between, so there's a lot of story in between there as to how he got his other clippers, how he recruited new clippers that trusted him and stuff like that. So there's a lot there. They may not give us that with this season, because, you know, we only had 10 episodes. We had like 20 or something. Maybe they could do a bunch of flashbacks, you know, here and there. But even without that, it's getting pretty intense. So we're going to have a crazy team up. We have Vale escaping. We have Sonny and Bajie not only escaping with a car and this woman and a little girl who may or may not survive even the next episode, because they don't show up in the promo, which I thought would be kind of a big deal, because they all escaped together. So who knows what's happening there. MK's on the run and got the people chasing him. Somehow Sonny and Bajie end up running into those same people. So there's a lot to look forward to in this next episode. We may or may not see Lydia die. That's a big question. I don't think so, but I also didn't think Ryder would get killed off either. So I don't know. Really hard to say for this next episode, but I'm certainly excited for it. You know, a lot of crazy things mentioned in this episode, leading into some future moments, and just moments in this episode that were crazy, like that ending. So Really looking forward to next week, but of course would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And there's a lot that I think is going to happen in this next episode, but I really want to know where you guys think MK's story is headed. I think at this point, that's kind of like the biggest mystery, because I feel like even with all the in-between stuff, we kind of know where Sonny and Bajie are headed. I would assume they're going to make it back. Regardless of where Belle ends up in the next couple of episodes, I assume that she'll make a return to Sonny. Maybe she'll try to go to the Widow and realize, like, oh crap, you teamed up with Quinn. That would be insane if that did happen and she learned about the whole refugee thing and she went to the Widow and then that backfired because her and Quinn teamed up. That would really suck. That would be messed up if that happened, but it wouldn't surprise me in this show where it's like she got away and then it just went full circle. It's like, sorry, you dropped again. So, despite all the other storylines and even with those having really unknown endings, would love to know your theories on where MK's story is headed. Do you guys think that he does have complete control over his power? Do you think he's just kind of upgraded? Personally, I think it would be too much if he had complete mastery like the other people, but obviously he has control. Like, he went into the room, poof, this episode, he's just training again. He has control, and that's probably why he took off. He's like, alright, did it myself. Clearly there are crazy secrets here. I'm ready to go. Like, things got weird last time, and he's, taking control now. So he feels he's ready to go back out into the world and just do things on his own. So I would love to know where you guys think his storyline is headed in the next episode. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.